Audio check, sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Audio check. Audio check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good evening and good morning to all of you. This is your trainer here. We are now ready to start. Tonight's session, we will be learning about the data modeling and so look into the project on the supply chain management scenario from a financial portion. We will try to simulate the scenario and then implement that here in this training. We will be following a naming standard in naming the objects whenever we create in HANA, so that when we start working in the real projects in the future, we will be able to provide the naming standards and other project implementation strategies from the HANA project implementation standpoint. So before we start, let's have a quick recap on the area of our package. So I'm going to start the HANA Studio here, and then we open this in the Navigator panel and open the content folder, and then we are able to see our packages in a particular naming standard. The one that we will be using here is the z_package_scm_pr, and we were able to successfully create two subfolders, sub001 and sub-p002. Yep, these are the two subfolders, sub-p01 likewise. The reason why we're creating these two sub-packages is to allow the trainer training sessions with sub-package 1 and sub-package 2 for your self-practice and other scenarios if you want to implement. You can also create sub-package 0, 3, 4, 5 if you have multiple scenarios. Now we remember that when we create a package for the first time yesterday, we remember to provide the technical name of that object package in the uppercase, and to also follow a naming pattern or a naming standard. So Z is what we have in our customer implementation. A standard common practice in all SAP projects, whether it is HANA, ERP, BI, CRM, SRM, etc. So we start with Z as a custom object. In some projects, you may find objects starting with X or Y. So in order to just to have that extra knowledge, I'm just going to open another document spreadsheet here, And in this particular document, we have the naming standards. If you can have a look here in column K. In column K, all right. So for package, we have z underscore package underscore the name and underscore xx, which could be our initials. What we see to the right-hand side is in column M here, column M. I'm using the yellow highlight. So in column M, you have object names that we generally use to start the technical identifier name of that new object. So the Z here is the prefix that we generally provide when we are creating a new object in the implementation, and it represents those objects created by the SI or the system integrator. It could be a consulting firm, it could be a contractor consultant creating those objects for the implementation. So Z objects are generally those objects that are created by the consulting partner or system integrators. And X object is the prefix that we have for experimental purpose, maybe a workaround solution. So we're trying to test, develop a new scenario for which we're creating some new objects. So we can give the technical name prefix with an X. Later it will be deleted and will not be transported. This is just for experimental purposes. So a customer could create that object directly, customer core team members, or the SI, system integrator consultants, can create those X objects and later will be deleted. Yep. The Y objects are directly created by the customers, not by consulting partners, consultants, or system integrators. It's directly created by the customer core team members or customer consultants. So it's a general, we a lot of implementations, and we're using that similar pattern of naming standard here in SAP HANA as well. So when you start giving the object names for your future implementations, we ideally start with a Z as a prefix, and if it is a workaround, then it will be with an X, and if it is a customer object, then it will be Y. So just by looking at the prefix, we'll be able to find out which object is it for and for what purpose and who created it. Yeah. So let's go back to column K here, and we have this as our package naming, and we did that yesterday already. Likewise, we're going to have all the other objects with a particular naming standard. In SAP HANA, there is no particular standard as such for the naming convention, for the naming of the HANA objects. So we, as a HANA trained consultant, should be providing what the naming standard would look like and how we will be enforcing that as a strategy. We don't just create any object name just like that. We like to follow a naming standard. And then when you go through the auditing of the process of that implementation, it's good to have such naming standards. So we're going to follow that scenario here in our project. All right? So let's go back here into the studio. The Excel file will be available to all after session tonight. Maybe the support staff will be able to collect these documents and send to you in your inbox. So we have our Z package and these two subfolders, and the area on converting a generic package to a structured package is by going into the properties of that object and changing the property value. For example, we were able to create our first package, and we went into the properties, and then we changed the structure package property from no to yes. So when you put it here in the properties as yes, the package subfolders becomes integrated. Now I will show you another example. Let's create a new package. Right-click here on the content folder, select new from the context menu, select package. So we will give here a package 000, and I'm not following the naming standard. This is for an object that will be deleted. So the 000 package can still hold other subpackages. You see here I can still create subpackage sub01. I can also create another subpackage sub02 likewise. Now, the primary difference between this package 000 and our package, the Z package, is that the subpackage objects look like they are part of that primary folder. In this example, 000 package contains sub01 and subpackage 02. It's okay to work with such, but the best practice is to ensure that if you're going to have certain subpackages, make sure that a primary package is identified as a structured package by going into the properties and then by converting, not here, but going into the properties of that object and then enabling structure package to yes. That will ensure that when you are transporting your package and the subpackages, all of the dependent objects or dependent subpackages are always integrated and consistent and aligned and mapped so that the transport import is always successful. Some of the developers today who are not advised with this best practice create such package, and we encounter import failures in some of the transport use cases. Therefore, the best practice is to have your package pre-identified as a structure package, and then you create your sub-packages, align it. The system will automatically align it, therefore, and then your transports are always integrated and consistent with the dependent objects. Okay? So although the system technically allows to create subfolders, we have to remember that the optimized, the best practice solution is to have a structure package. Okay. So this is what we've done until yesterday as a part of the steps. Let's proceed further. The contents of the package are as follows. So you can have these building blocks. So a package can consist of a sub-package and the following list of objects. The first object is the attribute view. An attribute view is a database view which will always offer the master data attribute fields. Please also write down the notes if it is okay. So an attribute view will always offer the building blocks of the following views: analytic, calculation, views, etc. From a business standpoint, or from a functional standpoint, when we go out for the requirements gathering with our counterparts, technical team, functional consultants, and our customer subject experts, we should be able to categorize those tables as master data and transactional tables. How? A master data table will always have the metadata and the unique identifier fields. And transactional data tables will always have the KPIs, the key performance indicators, against those master data transactional values. So we go back to the basics at the database layer to pick up the master data tables and transactional tables. Because for any given business or for any given ERP system or an OLTP system or a database system, we always have tables to store the transactional and the master data values. In HANA, attribute views are ideally created from master data tables. For example, I'm just directly writing on the screen, product master, vendor master, likewise. Okay. So when you click here on the attribute view, it gives us the information that the attribute views are reusable dimensions. The reusable dimensions are containers that will have the metadata, attribute fields, and that could be reused because a master data is always a global object. In any given system, whether it is a database or a data warehouse or a transaction system or a reporting system, right? A master data is always a global object. Likewise, here in HANA as well, a master data attribute field or the master data view, which is called as attribute views, are reusable dimension views. And then you use these views to join to the corresponding master data tables. We start with the basics, and the basics here is to always start with the master data, and then scale out to other transactional tables and other complex data models and views. So we start with attribute views. Let's make a session note. So first is the package. So the best practice is to always ensure that our package are defined as a structured package. It could also be an interview question why we go with structured packages. Why not just have sub-packages just like that? Because the system allows us to create subfolders. So why we have to go with structured package? Yep, we know the answer. Second point is the attribute view. Now before we go into these views definitions, we first need to know what a view is. So we'll come back to this point. I'm going to go to the lower portion of the page and understand what is a view. A view is a database terminology. It is a database object which is a logical object. A logical object means it is a structure object. They do not hold any data. They are carbon copy structures, but they do not store data. So in the database, a view will always be created from a table. And the view can also connect with multiple tables. So we use these views to compare, connect, concatenate, unify multiple backend tables and have the views used for reporting. The similar concept is also implemented here in HANA as well, that we use the views, which will have the logical object or the logical joins or the logical structure of the backend database table or tables. So remember that views do not hold or store data. They connect with the DB table or the corresponding groups of tables and provide a structural, logical, so let's put here, and provides a logical structure. Okay? That's a view in a database context. Now in HANA, we have different types of views. So we go back up here. In HANA, the first view is the attribute view, which is the building block of HANA data models. An attribute view always offers the master data information. For example, it could be a product master attribute view or a vendor master data attribute view. Likewise, a geo account master attribute view. Likewise. Yep. So we have the corresponding master data tables at the backend system. A material master with the product master, a vendor master data table, a accounts master data table. So all the master data tables will have their corresponding attribute views. So to start with the data modeling in HANA, start with the building blocks. And the building block of the HANA data models are always the master data attribute views. So what we create here are the views and not the tables. Because the tables are already replicated by the replication team through SLT or BODs, likewise, after the data arrives in the HANA system, we will be able to get those tables, and then we create the views on top of these tables. It could be a master data table or a transactional table. So for master data, that's your attribute view. Now, let's go back into the project document and check the naming standard of that attribute view. When we want to have for attribute views with Z, meaning Z-A-T for attribute underscore view underscore name of that object. Likewise, for analytic views, we want to have Z-Z-A-N underscore view underscore name for calculation views and therefore other objects. That's our naming standard. Okay, so let's go back into the system and try and create our first view, which is the attribute view. We're going to pick up our sub-package 01 from our package. We're going to right-click here and select from the context menu a attribute view. Click. It gives us a very small, concise pop-up screen. We're going to give a name. A name always in HANA is the technical name. Please remember that a name in HANA is always the technical name when you try to create a new object. And then follows the description. So we give the technical name in here, Z underscore, I think it was ZAT underscore view for attribute view underscore name. So we wanted to have a, let's take an example, material, master data. So that's our object technical name. Remember, always in the uppercase and with the naming standard as a best practice. Then follows the description. So we write here material master data view from material table. Yep. The package, as we've right-clicked on that package folder, it is giving us that location where it will be created. The type is the attribute view type that we want to create here first. We can also copy from already existing views that are active. We can use that as a template and copy from, or create a new attribute view. Now when you create a new attribute view, it will ask you what is the subtype that you want to select. It says here, when you click here on the drop down, you have standard. This is what we're going to create. Then we have time-based. We will learn about these two other types, time-based and the derived-based. For now, we select standard and click here on finish. When you click on finish, it will lead us to a landing screen of that attribute view. So what we have here in this page is the scenario with a small embedded grid background screen, and here you have semantics. The semantics will always show this screen where you have the overall technical definition of that object. So this is the definition of that object, ZAT view material. So here it is going to give us all of those fields that are selected from the base table and other associated hierarchies if required, and any other types of the attributes as a key attribute, a non-key attribute, and so forth. So semantics always gives us the overall definition of that object. Now it is all blank because we still have not connected this view with the table. So in order to connect, we click here on Data Foundation. When you click here on Data Foundation, it's going to ask us to provide the source of that view. So the source of the view is always a table. Therefore, the table becomes the foundation of that view. Therefore, you have this term, Data Foundation. When you put the mouse pointer on top of this Data Foundation box, it will show a small green plus icon. It says Add Objects. You're going to click here and give the object name, which is the table name. For our requirement, we want to have a material master data table for the material attribute view, right? So I'm going to put here the material master data table name. Depending upon the type of the source system that our HANA is connected, table names could differ from source to source. In our example, we're connected to an SAP ERP source, and there at the back end, the SAP ERP source have a table name called Mara, which is the material master data table. Okay. Now, whenever you type here the table name, it gives us identical matching table names or items here. So you see here Mara coming in from within brackets. You also see here Mara temp coming in from another M Mara, TD Mara, etc. So the within brackets here is the schema name from where the tables are to be selected. Remember, always in a database, the tables are grouped together into database folders. Here in HANA, our database folders are called as schemas. So you can pick up a MARA table from one schema, another table from another schema, and likewise. So before we proceed here in selecting the table from that right schema, we will also go back to our SLT schema, where here at the Quick Launch, click here on Data Provisioning and check the status of the MARA table. We see here the MARA table is scheduled for load, and that MARA table is available in ERP1. Right? So we go back into the catalog folder, check the ERP1, open the schema, expand the tables in here, and find the material master data table. In our example, it should be MARA. But the MARA table is scheduled for load and is not yet loaded. So in some of the real-time scenarios, a reporting end user is asking for a report, but the data is not yet available as it is undergoing replication in native use cases. In enterprise use cases, where you have ERP running on HANA, you don't require these replications. So let's simulate that scenario. The MARA table is scheduled for load here in this schema. So how about using another schema, for example? Let's say that we're using another schema for MARA table to be uploaded. We are using a new schema for MARA replication from SLT. So there could be multiple options and parallel processes that we can run our table load using multiple schemas. Yep. So let's go here into another schema. Let's find out. ECC6 connection, and go in here into tables. You see here there is a MARA table. Let's right click and open data preview, and it has got values in here. In some of the POC projects and in some of the implementation projects, you will be working with multiple schemas. One schema used for a test, another schema used for a copy of one of the real-time schema, and then you have another schema coming in from the other replicator. Yep. So therefore, in this example, we try to simulate such scenario, and we're going to use MARA from this schema, and we use another tables from another schema, and try and combine multiple schemas into one view package. Okay? So we switch over the screen into the data foundation for a material master, and click here on the green plus icon, and then we pick up the MARA table from that schema, ECC6 connection schema, click OK. From requirements to requirements and from scenarios to scenarios, the schema names could be different. In our example, we try to simulate a requirement where a schema has got a table, but the schema table is getting loaded. We don't have the data available completely. So we may be using another standby schema or another schema from another source, or maybe using another replicator from the same source. Different combinations available for different use cases. In this example, we're using MARA here from another schema, and we have to check if this table has got data in here. So we click here, data preview, and it's got values in there, just like we've done the data preview, right?
Hello. Hello. Sorry, Param, actually, your voice is inaudible.
Hi, Param. No, we can't hear you. Your voice is not coming.
Hello?
Check 1, check 2, check 3. Audio check 1, 2, 3. All right, my friends, I think I'm back. Okay, I was trying to do a sound check, and I could hear the sound test, but I could also hear you guys, but I think I was not audible, so I just had to reconnect. Okay, so I'm back. So we will continue. Do you believe the screen is visible? We were here in this table Mara, and then we were trying to check a data preview's attribute view. So an attribute view always requires at least one foundation table. In our example, we were trying to create a material attribute view for which we will connect to the material master data table. What we have here on the screen are all the fields from that master data table. If you scroll down here, you'll be able to see all of those fields from that master data table. Depending upon the requirements, depending upon the scenarios, you will be selecting those attribute fields from that master data table for your attribute view. In our example, we will pick up material number. So in order to pick up or select, we have to right-click here, and then there is a small context menu. Select here, Add to Output. We can also apply filters if there is a need to apply, let's say, material check audio 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure where the problem is. Maybe I need to restart my computer or something. Okay, so let's continue here. So we were selecting the material number, and how we select was to right-click on the field. Let's also go for another field. In this case, we will select the created on the date. Yep, so right-click, Add to Output. This is how you add a field as a part of the attribute view selection. We can select all of these fields, but depending upon the requirements in the scenarios, select the field which is really needed for your reporting. In our example, we will select the material number, the date on which it was created, the material type perhaps, right-click, Add to Output, material group, right-click, Add to Output, for example. So we have these four fields coming in from the material master data. If you can look at the right-hand side of the screen in the output panel, you have the material number, the date, type, and the group fields being selected. So after you select the base fields, then we head over to the semantics here. We click here on the semantics. Now we're able to see that we have these fields coming in from that source Mara table. Right? So we have the material number, the date on which it was created, the type, and the group. This is just a baseline example. When you start with your practice, you can add more fields. What we have to remember is that we need at least one key field or one key attribute field. So we will select the material number here from the type drop down. We select this and select the key attribute. So the minimum requirement for an attribute view is to have at least one table, which is the master data table, and one key field. Please make a note that we require at least one table and one key field for successfully activating an attribute view. Okay? So then, we use this particular toolbar at the right-hand upper corner. Please have a look at the right-hand upper corner. There is an embedded toolbar which will exist for the rest of the other views as well. The first icon here is to switch the screen into performance. If you need to check the performance of that view, you can enable this icon. We will see in advanced modeling next week. The next icon is to search a field. So for example, here in Mara table, we want to find a field that starts or that has got an R, for example. Okay, so the search is a fuzzy search, and it will help the developer consultant or the user to search a field by typing in the search string. The third icon here in this toolbar is to save and validate. So we click this option to save the definition and then to validate. Yep, it is always based on technical names. At the backend design, then you can convert into description or business terms at the reporting layer, or here, as we will see in the semantics area. So we've so far able to save and validate. Now, let's go back to our content folder here in the navigator panel and expand this option subpackage, and then you'll be able to see your view name as a part of the subfolder. Now please observe here that there is a gray icon attached to the icon of the attribute view. On the left-hand navigator panel, if you can observe closely, there is a small gray box attached to the icon of the attribute view. It implies that the object is not yet activated. So when we go to the next icon here at the toolbar at the right-hand corner, you see the next icon with a green circle, and then there is an arrow to the right-hand side, and when you put the mouse pointer, it will give you save and activate. So let's activate this object. And then you'll be able to see here, if you go back to the navigator panel once again, you see that the gray icon symbol is gone, implying that the object is active now. So it could be another very frequent interview question. How do you check if an object is active or inactive by just opening up the folders in that package or the views? So we know now that with the help of that icon, if there is a gray symbol attached, it means the object is inactive. Now we were successfully able to activate this particular object. Then we go to the next icon here in this toolbar at the upper right-hand corner, and then you see a magnifying glass icon, and this is where we perform a quick data preview. So let's run the data preview here. let's directly go here to the raw data. And remember, we have selected only 4 field attributes, right? And there were so many fields, but we were selecting only those 4 as a baseline for our first view. So material number 1 was created in 2014, 27th of November, and type and group. Okay? This is the baseline development so far. Next, we will perform enhancements here in a way to simulate another business reporting requirement that here, whoops, is the audio gone for all? Is the audio available still for all?
Hello.
Audio check. Okay, some of you can hear me, some of you cannot. Looks like the weekend has already started. Okay, let's do a quick recheck audio. Recheck audio. Recheck audio, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're good. We continue from here. So we were thinking about doing some enhancements here, not just pick up a field and then just show it to the user. We want to show the user, for example, in this data preview, we have the material numbers with the corresponding date on which the material was created. But the end user is asking that the user do not want to see the dates. They want to see a new column here with year. The year in which the material was manufactured.
Hello.
Yep.
Param,
Hello.
this is Arpan. Hello, Param. This is Arpan. Hello.
I
Yeah,
can
Param,
hear you guys.
Param, actually, I don't know whether there's a connectivity issue, but I'm facing this problem very recurrently. I don't know. So this is the reason.
Okay.
Actually, I cannot hear many part of your lectures in between, so it is creating a problem. I don't know why it's happening.
Unmuted.
So if you can, if you can kindly recapitulate a bit of what you have discussed. I'm talking about I mean to say that from the gray, when you're talking about after activations, you're talking, you are just discussing about one icon just after activations. That part,
Yep.
my audio got lost. If you can kindly recapitulate, please.
Okay. So let's go back. Right. So in this, we were good so far here. We were able to pick up the table and provide that as a foundation. And after that, we were looking into the status where if the object is active or not. So this is where we were talking about the gray icon here. If you open other packages, for example, here, if you have any subcontents and try and see, you see that there is a gray icon here which provides the user an information that the object is inactive. This is just for a visual representation, that if you have a gray icon attached to the a gray symbol attached to the icon of that object is inactive. And then the other example in our package view, the gray icon, the gray symbol is not there, and it indicates that this object is active. So just by looking at the symbol or the icon representation, we will be able to identify those active and inactive objects. That is an extra info that I was trying to share. Yep. Then after we were able to successfully activate the object by clicking on this toolbar, at the upper right-hand corner, there is a toolbar. Yeah. So here, the first icon was to enable the performance. This we will come back if we want to check the performance. The next icon is to search a field. So when you click here on this binocular icon, you can search a field with a technical name, for example, any field that starts with the Z, EI, for example. So it will give you those field names on a technical name basis. The third icon here is to enable to save and validate. You see a green circle with a tick mark? This allows the developer to save the definition so far been built and then validate definition. And after that, the next icon here, this is what we clicked earlier, to activate the object. So the green circle with an arrow to the right hand side, if you click this, you will be activating the object. After you activate the object, we click here on this icon, and this is represented with a magnifying glass. When you put the mouse pointer, you see here data preview, and when you click data preview, you'll be able to see the result of that view, the baseline view result with the data sets, right? So this is so far we've done, and does that answer question, Orpan?
Thank you for just going back a bit.
Okay, so now we'll proceed further into simulating a reporting requirement that the reporting user is asking, hey, I have this date, but I want to count the material numbers based on year. So the user is asking, we got a requirement that we want to see a count of material per year. We're seeing here 2014. We're seeing here 1996. We're also seeing 2006, 2003, 2004, 2002, and so many dates. So the end user is asking, why don't you have a new field with the year? So this is a first level of simple enhancement that we will directly build here in this attribute view. And how we do it is by going into the definition and selecting calculated columns from the right-hand side of the output panel. When you create a new calculated column, you'll be able to use simple functions, operator-based calculations from the fields that are already selected. Okay, so in order to create a new calculated column, we're going to right-click here. When you right-click, you will see New. Select this option.
Muted.
Then you will provide the technical name of that object. Let's say we want to have year, so we don't start with this field with a Z because this will be a column field shown at the report. Yeah. So just put your year, description, and data type based upon the requirement. It could be a decimal, integer, or a varchar likewise. Let's go with the varchar. Length of the year is always 4, so put here 4. To the right-hand side, we also see scale. This is only when we have type as decimal. So that will be used for other calculations, and the scale is the number of digits after the decimal point. So if you have decimal here as a type for other calculations, we will see those next week. But if you have a type as a decimal and then you put here the length, and then the scale is where you put you show how many digits to be displayed after the decimal point. Okay. Then we put here in the expression editor, we bring up the columns, and then we want to work something here on this ERSDA field. All right. and we use some of the functions. So therefore you have functions to convert data types, string functions, and mathematical functions, absolute rounding off sign, date functions to count number of days between weekdays, etc., and other miscellaneous functions if case is null, etc. So we'll use one of these functions here on this field to derive the year out of the date. So a simple exercise is to use the string function, for example, here, and read the year from that date field from the left-hand side of the string. So very easy, use the left string function. These functions are already available in Microsoft Excel, and they're not generic to HANA or data warehousing as such. So they are open functions that are available in other tools. So we use one of those. In our example, we will be using the left string function when you put in here, meaning by double-clicking, you will also see the syntax. So when you want to use this function, what are the parameters that are required? So we require the string, and we require the number of the integer that has to be counted from the left-hand side. So remove this. We enter the string here by double-clicking, and then put the comma. You can also type your own formulas in here as far as the parameters are supported. Then we want to read 4 integer from the left-hand side of that string and get the year. So validate the syntax by clicking here. No errors found. Click OK, and then you'll be able to see the year here in the calculated columns. What we do next is to quickly save and activate, and then data preview, and then we have a year. So let's go here to the raw data. So we have years, 2014 altogether, 95, 4, 96, etc. So this is a new simulated requirement. And from the end user perspective, the end user can drag the year and count materials per year. So it was in the year 2002 that we had the highest count of the materials, 5,416. This year, 2014, we have only 76 materials. It is a simulated environment. So on the need basis for ad hoc reporting, you can also design such calculated columns and other restricted columns and other fields on the need basis depending upon the type of the view, attribute view, analytic view, calculation views. Now, when you run the data preview, we're only seeing the technical fields. For a business user, let's say MTART does not sound something like a business term, but for a developer is always the technical field name. So how do you align these two together? For example, instead of not showing a technical field name, you want to show the business description, for example. So therefore, we go here into the semantics. We can rename the fields. For example, instead of MTART, we could just here type, give the type, and then for here, we type here group, likewise. And for ERA STA, we can just put here date, for example. And instead of showing MATNR, you can just put here material number or just material. So there is an option that you can rename the fields from technical to the business terminologies, save, and then activate. It's always required to re-save and reactivate every time you make any changes. Reason being that whatever changes that you do should be consistent. Therefore, we have to resave, reactivate, and then you see here the date and then the year. So year-wise, year-wise, type-wise material count, for example. And you see this graph does not make any sense. Therefore, you want to apply a certain filter and do comparative analysis between 2006 and 96, likewise. So in order to put some filters, if you can see, at the center portion of this data preview, there is a small inverted triangle. Right? Not many consultants are aware of this, but we can check this option. So when you click on that inverted triangle, you'll be able to see there is a extended version of applying filters. So maybe we want to put filters for year to count the comparative comparison between 2002, 3, and 1. Okay, and then we want to put the type for let's go with products. Let's go with type with raw materials, and let's go with type as finished goods. Yep, for example. And also add other types, for example. Not this one. Yep. So we see here 2001, 2002, and 2003 year-on-year comparison between the types and count of the materials just on the fly. So you see here 2001, the raw material count was 315. Comparatively in 2002, we have a higher raw material count, which is 1947, and then in 2003, the raw material count for ROH type is reduced to 921. So it gives the user a analytics on the fly with this data preview. And then the user can understand this preview and finally have this at the reporting layer. Okay, so this is the first level of enhancement. Let's go with the next level of enhancement using the same master data for the material. Here in this example, we're using a single table. And whenever you run the data preview, it's only showing us the material numbers and type and the group. But the user is asking, hey, I want to see the material description per group, per type, per year, and count the materials. We don't want to see the numbers. There's so many hundred thousands of materials. We want to see the description, for example. So therefore, we have to bring in another table that has got the description of that material number, for example. So there is a technical feasibility that you can add more than one tables in a foundation on a view, for a view. There is no upper limitation on the max number of tables. As far as the view supports, you can have n number of tables, because ultimately we work with the views for the report, for the models, etc. Therefore, you have an option to add another table. Make sure tables are interrelated. This is where we may have to reconfirm and double check from our functional counterpart at the source. It could be Oracle as a source. It could be mainframe as a source. It could be SAP as a source. It could be Teradata as a source. So it is, at this point, you have to counter check, double confirm from your counterpart source system team on which table are interrelated to each other. In this case, for SAP, for the material master of MARA, it is interrelated with MAKT. MAKT is a description table. And now, we're going to pick up the MAKT from another schema. So it's quite possible to merge tables from multiple schemas into one view. This will help you for your real-time projects because you'll be working with multiple schemas and you may be required to merge tables from multiple schemas. So first thing first, after you add a table, ensure table has got values. And how you check it? By clicking on the header of the table, right-click, select Data Preview of the table. And the values exist. So we connect these two tables by just drawing a line between these two boxes, for example, from Mara to the MAKT. And how we join is by drag and drop. So you see here material number from MAKT. You also see here material number from Mara. So you're going to drag and draw a line. So put a mouse pointer, click, and then drag. You'll see a small arrow popping up from here, and then drop it to the corresponding table with the associated field. Material number gets connected to the material number, and we want to derive the material description, for example, MAKTX. So we're going to right-click here on this other table, and then add the output. You'll be able to see to the right-hand side, if it is visible. Let me expand. Yeah, so you'll be able to see on the right-hand side, MAKTX. That's our description. Now, that's at the last. If you want to align or sequence up these attributes, you can pull it up here. Move up, move up, move up. And then you want to bring the group, move up here. You want to bring the date, the last, move down. For example, these are some of the exploration areas. So next, we're going to save, activate, data preview, we have the description of that particular number. Yep. Now whenever you drag and drop, there are multiple types of joins that you can also specify here. Yep. So for example, that we have just dragged and connected, and when you put or when you click here on this line and then check the properties at the right hand corner, you'll be able to see the left element and the right element, meaning from the left to the right table you're connecting, and what is the type of the join. It's given here a referential join. And by default, all the joins in HANA, whenever you drag and drop and connect two tables or connect two views, it is always referential join. We will learn about the types of joins on Monday. We have different types, for example, referential, inner join, left outer, right outer, text join, and selection option for the cardinality relationship between two connecting fields. Whether it is a one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, or many-to-many. By default, it is selected here as blank, which is one-to-one. So we'll learn about these other properties whenever you drag and drop on Monday. For now, let's come back here to the data preview, and we were able to see the text. Okay, let's focus here on the text. So far, looks good. Looks all readable in English. Now, if I scroll down, I also see other languages. This looks like a Chinese or a Japanese. This looks like a Russian. And then this looks like a Japanese in katakana script. And then, I'm sorry, this is one. And then you have other international languages also popping up here on the text of that material. So how to only show one type of the language? So I'm coming from the option of applying a filter. All right. So whenever you selected the field, for example, let's say industry sector, you right-click, you want to add it to the output. But there is also an option, apply filter. So this is where I'm coming from. To the right-hand side in the MAKT table, you have sparse. It is a standard field from SAP, and it implies sparse. These are all in German, so sparse means language. The language key here that you want to only filter to English. We don't want to show user other non-understandable languages for a user working in English reports for those scenarios. So therefore, we're going to right-click here and then apply filter, and it's going to quickly pop up where you want to apply filter and based on what operator type. So apply filter based on operator equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, between, etc. So we want to apply operator, the sparse language key equals to value English. So there are so many master data values. E is for English, so you're going to click here E. Save. Remember to save and remember to activate. All right. And then data preview it. Okay. So here we will see based upon the filter condition. And if you also want to see the filtered field for sparse, you can also, you see here after you apply a filter, you see a small funnel icon here. And if you want to also show that field, you just have to right-click, add it to output. Okay. Save. Validate. Data preview. And then you also see here sparse at the last column, E, for example. Okay. So these are small little enhancements that we did here, and I would request everybody to also practice after the session tonight. And I will show you another example of another attribute view so that you can perform those practice exercise over the weekend. So we have created the material. We'll create another attribute view, right-click, new, provide the technical name, ZAT for attribute underscore view, underscore, let's say we want to have customer. Okay. TOMER, customer. Standard subtype, click here on finish. Bring in the source table of the customer master data table into the data foundation. Okay. So in order to do so, we're going to click here on the add objects. Depending upon the type of the source, select the right table. So we have a KNA1 from SAP. Also make sure that the table contains data. Go over to the raw data. And it has got values. So from customer, we're going to bring in customer number, for example. Right-click, add to output. We also have country key, right-click, add to output. City, for example, postal code, for example, state ID, for example. So we're going to bring in these 5 baseline attribute fields. Then we switch over to the semantics. Remember that we need to have at least one table and one key field to successfully activate an attribute view. So therefore, we're going to put the customer number as a key field, and then we will save, activate, yep, and data preview. Yep. You can also bring in a renaming of the fields. For example, instead of showing land 1, you can show here a country. You can do these renaming at the reporting tool as well, which is a good practice at the presentation layer. However, at the DB, you can also make such changes. All right? Okay, so I would request everybody to practice over the weekend and to use this subpackage 01 as a reference package. Please do not make any changes here. You can open and check the view definition just for reference purpose, and then you start creating your package, subpackage with these two attribute views. Please practice over the weekend. When we connect on Monday, we will enhance the view with hierarchies. Sounds good, yeah. And we also understand the two types of hierarchies and where it could be presented and what tools support hierarchies, and therefore other details from a reporting perspective. And then proceed further into the other subtypes of attribute views where you can have timetables, derived attribute views, further calculations, understanding the different types of the joins and cardinalities. Yep. And where do we look for some extra features like generated SQL statement, how to restrict the data preview number of the row count, how to export data from HANA, likewise. So I will take a leave from you guys, and please make sure that you're able to practice over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And you have my mail ID. If you have questions in between, please feel free to drop an email and I will respond. The documents, the PPT, the Excel file, and other reference documents have already been uploaded, and it will be available to you from the support training staff. Any technical difficulties in the remote computer, please send a screenshot to the technical support team. They will ask you to connect over to the Skype, and then they will be able to resolve your technical issues, if any. Okay, so we are now open for your questions.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This is Saya. Okay, just a couple of questions. I know this is not a BODS class, but you went over BODS yesterday. So what I did some experiment in BODS. I was able to create it of a table. I was able to create a flat file. But when I tried to use a standard data source like LIS 211, the header data from, it gave me some error. If you don't mind, can we go into BODS and can quickly look at and help us with that, help me with that? And then I also tried a generic data source, and it could not even find the generic data source. I'm talking about, ODP in the BODS.
Yeah. The data source that you're bringing in the BODS has to be active.
Yeah,
at
it was
the source
active.
system.
Yeah, exactly. It was active. It was empty, so I loaded some data into it. I'm talking about 2 LIS, the billing header. And when I try to open it up just to look at the data, it gives me an error. So then I said, okay, I'm going to try a generic. So I created a generic data source with VBAT table, sales table, and item table. And that, it cannot even find it, even though it's active in the source system. So if you have just 1 minute, you can go to BODS.
Okay, so what I would suggest is you please take a screenshot and just send an email so
Okay.
that I will be able to follow up whether the problem is at the BODS or whether there is a problem in connecting BODS with the source, or it could be at the repository at the source whenever you're creating a generic custom extractor or standard extractor. Could be some developer key required which is not provided, and they're asking for so I need to find out where the problem lies. We'll not be able to directly troubleshoot here. So just send a screenshot and we will be able to help you.
And just send you an email, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Hi.
Sure.
Just one other question.
Yeah, hi, Parag.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
You were just talking about the filter applied on the attribute view, where the users say, well, we don't want to see everything on the reporting level. We just want to see some of this filtered. And you drop down the little triangle and you did some filtering. Now, can you save that filter in this attribute view? By the time the report is created, user will only see those, or this is only for a developer to see?
Yeah, this is for the reporting. So when you put the filter here, only the filter value gets deployed at the reporting tool.
So in other words, when you apply the filter and you activate it, is that filter saved in attribute view?
Yep,
so
yep. It is part of the definition because we save it here, then we activate the view, and then we deploy this view at the reporting tool, and only that filtered condition will be shown at the report as a result set.
Okay, okay. And just last quickly, you've been talking about these documents. You were saying the support team will be sending us. We are not getting any of those. You told us yesterday and day before about some documents. They're not sending us those documents. They only sent us initially 5 or 6 documents, but we are not getting these, the one you said are uploaded, unless other people are receiving it. I have not received it.
Okay. Yeah, I have already sent it from my end. I just need to check with the support team.
Yeah, can you please?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that right away. I just need to send a ping, and then perhaps I need to call them up.
Hi, Parag.
No problem. I'll do it.
Thank you.
Unmuted.
Questions from today's session?
Hi, Parag. Is it Parag speaking? Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep. I can hear you.
Parag, this is yeah. Actually, the thing is that yesterday I was even though I'm very new to BODS, what I can understand, I was trying to extract some data from MAKT table. I can see the table getting replicated in HANA, means in the name which I have given. But it was giving some error in the MAKTX because there are so many language keys. You have seen that there are so many. You have Japanese, you have Mandarin, you have English.
I think
so it was giving an error. But the table got formed. Yeah. So I was trying to filter. Anyway, I'll drop you a mail in this regard. So as you have said. Yeah. Hello. Uh-oh. Hello. Hello.